Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of the Loftus Party. Hola. Yes, thank you. Wonderful. Go ahead. This is crazy. This is the podcast we started a few months ago. This is the companion piece to the little television show that we do. You're probably all wondering, what's the television show? It's called The Flip Side. It is, in the one-line description, it's The Daily Show, but it leans to the right. So there you go. And we can't, because it's syndicated, it's always like big issue stuff, big issue stuff. This is where we do our news of the day. This is where we do the rip from the headlines. I'm Michael Loftus. Next to me is Andrew Apple. Say hello, Andrew.
Hello, Andrew. I just want to let you know, I'm not the funny one. He's the funny one.
That remains to be seen as well. So we're doing, this is live, recorded live at Politicon.
Yes, indeed.
And we did Politicon last year when it was at the LA Convention Center. Good times.
Great times.
What's your favorite memory?
You know what? It was the food. No,
That's good.
It wasn't. No. Actually, we had some amazing interviews last year.
My favorite part of last year?
Yes.
Was meeting Alicia Krause. Oh my gosh, she's going to be back on the show today. That's crazy.
That's amazing.
We got, you know who else we got?
Who we got?
We got Jon Favreau.
That's a
These
wow.
are like big time guests.
Absolutely.
This guy wrote for a young man by the name of Barack Obama. You might have heard of him.
I think I have.
Yeah, he's in a leadership position. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. So you want to just, shall we just dive right in? This is crazy. There's how many rows would you say there are? 25 rows?
Yeah. That's
9 people? 12 people?
But you know what? Here's the thing. They can't see us. We could lie.
Oh, it's sold out. What? Oh, I was looking the wrong way. It's sold out. Standing room only. We'll add some echo in post so it sounds empty. I'm having a blast. Okay, lots going on in the news.
Yes, indeed.
This week. We got to cover that. Oh, Politicon. You know who I met?
Who'd you meet?
John Ratzenberger.
I
didn't even know he was a political guy.
The mailman from Cheers?
The mailman from Cheers, and there's a story about him getting that job. And I want to see if it's true. I don't know if anybody has ever heard this story. Cliff Clavin, John Ratzenberger. He's the pig. Isn't he the pig from Toy Story?
He is the pig from Toy Story. He's been in every Pixar movie.
He's like their good luck charm.
He is.
Evidently, he was reading for the part of Norm on Cheers. Didn't get it. And as he was leaving the audition, legend has it, he's like, do you have a bar know-it-all there? Because most bars in Boston, they got a kind of know-it-all guy. And they're like, oh, that didn't occur. Got himself on the show.
You see, that's ingenuity. That's what we love
It
about
might
America.
be apocryphal.
How so?
It just might be something that somebody made up.
Oh, okay.
Because I heard that Danny DeVito got his job on Taxi by jumping up on the desk and saying, who wrote this crap? And they're like, oh, he's the character. We should hire him. I've tried that in a couple auditions. Didn't work as well.
Well, you know why? Both those shows, executive produced by James Burrows. Did you do it for James Burrows?
I did not do it for James Burrows.
Well, there you go.
Okay, there you go. All right, well, let's bring our first guest. We've never had a guest on the show ever.
No.
This is breaking new territory.
Huge.
It's very huge. Let's bring up Jon Favreau. Come on up here. Look at that. Standing ovation. A standing ovation for Jon Favreau. He's coming in.
I'm here.
He's here. So
I walk all the way from the back because there are all these people.
I know. It's like
made it up here.
It's like the Oscars, you know. Like you're going to win when they put you in the front row and when you're in the back.
Great Cliff Clavin Boston accent there.
Thank you so much.
I approve.
I'm working on it.
So.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're from Boston.
Yeah, north of Boston. I mean,
north of Boston. Do you ever hang out with Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, those
all
guys?
the time? We're pals.
Right. You see each other.
There's a couple of us in Massachusetts, and we hang.
I saw Matt Damon. He did like a commencement speech the other day, and it just cracked me up. He's like a great philosopher. Sir Ben Affleck once said. And it just cracked me up that he did that. A great philosopher, Ben Affleck. All right, so Jon, a little bit about yourself.
Yes.
How did you start writing for the Obama administration? How do you apply for that job?
Right. So I went to college at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Worcester.
And I interned for John Kerry. And it was right when John Kerry was running for president or planning his presidential campaign.
Gotcha.
So I was an intern in the Kerry campaign. I then became an press assistant on the Kerry campaign. I then became a deputy speechwriter on the Kerry campaign. When
Wow.
He was losing to Howard Dean in the primary, and they couldn't afford to hire a real deputy speechwriter because they thought that was going to be the end of the Kerry campaign. So they just promoted me. And then after Kerry lost, my boss during the Kerry campaign, Robert Gibbs, was now with Obama.
Yeah.
And Obama won the Senate seat, and Gibbs said, he needs a speechwriter. He's never had one before. He always wrote his own stuff, but now he's not going to have time to do that. And I keep telling him he needs someone, even though he's fighting me on it. So why don't you come meet with us? It'll be his first week in the Senate. You can have breakfast and see if you guys fit.
That had to have been a pretty good gig.
It was a great gig.
Because I will say this about Obama. That guy gives a mean speech.
He gives a mean
like
speech.
teleprompter, no teleprompter. Like I didn't vote for the guy,
Right.
But when he's in Chicago, like the first time, like, and I'm watching, and he's like, yes, we can, and we're all Americans, and I'm like, yeah, we can. Like you slowly get hypnotized. He's got an awesome cadence. So that had to have been a great gig.
It was, and he is a wonderful person to work for. I mean. In 8 years of working for him, never lost his patience, never yelled at me, never raised his voice. I learned a ton from him about writing.
Really?
Yeah,
what was the
it's
best?
like an apprenticeship with a person who's
What was
an
the best?
incredible writer.
Did he have like notes? Like when you give him a speech, does he like circle stuff and go, "Guy, come on,
Yeah.
I can't."
Well, look, he before each speech, we would sit there and talk for like 20, 30 minutes about what he wanted to say. And then if it was like your day-to-day speech, I'd send him a speech, he'd make some edits, and that might be it. On the big speeches you've heard him give, almost inevitably every speech he would stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning and write out pages longhand, make huge corrections. Yeah, he does. So a lot of those speeches were from him. And it was just me helping him shape them and cut them down and edit and revise and add things here and there.
Did you ever have something you wanted to cut and he's just like, "No, that's staying"?
Yeah, of course.
What was it?
Well,
I want to know when you fought with Barack Obama over an edit.
Well, so I won't give a specific example, but it's, the message communications press people, political people, always want stuff shorter and tighter and more messagey and the soundbite and all that.
Right.
And Obama would always be pushing back on, like, no, let's make this argument a little longer. Let's delve into the policy here. Let's really make the argument as substantive as possible. So, people call him professorial and in the negative sense, but he very much wants to flesh out the argument and he never wants to really cut corners.
Yeah.
Even though it might be prettier in the speech to hear it that way.
Now, what's the deal with him and radical Islam?
Loves it.
Like why? Like
Big
no,
fan.
but like why did he wait so long? To say that, was it because the Republicans are like, he won't call it what it is? He won't call it what it is. That's Adam Sandler, by the way.
Adam Sandler.
I don't know why Obama won't call it what it is.
So I remember during the 2008 campaign, there are speeches, you can go back and look. I think the convention speech in 2008 had this, where he called it radical Islam.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was, when he became president, he sat down with a bunch of national security advisors and military people and everyone else, all the people who know, CIA, John Brennan, the CIA director, he believes this too. They said, look, to the extent that we have Arab countries as allies with skin in the game, helping us fight Al-Qaeda and now ISIS, they tell us that it is a lot better for them and easier for them to help us track down these killers if we don't paint this as a war or frame this as a war between the West and Islam.
Yeah.
And the more that we say radical Islam, even saying radical Islam, the more people hear. Because here's the thing, you start with radical Islam, and then when you listen to Trump now, he just basically says, sometimes he leaves out the radical part. And some people on the right do that. And I think to Obama, this was more of like if this helps our actual battle on the ground, by not saying this,
so he wanted to be.
Why do we need to say?
He wanted to be abundantly clear.
Right, abundantly clear. But as he said the other day when he was talking about Trump in that press conference, when he was flanked by the Joint Chiefs, who very much appreciated this too. It's like, look, there's no time in the last 8 years where anyone who works for me, or any of the people who are fighting on the ground are like, who are we fighting? What's going on? I don't know what we're after here. But the other important thing is, there are many speeches he's given in interviews where he has talked about the problems within Islam, right? That
Yeah.
there is a radical element
Well,
in
this
that within
happens-
the religion that Muslims need to talk about and Muslims need to think about.
Here's
and
the big difference
And so
that-
he's there. He's been there on that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. That I think it is. It seems to me every 400 years, I watch the History Channel a lot. Every 400 years, somebody in the Middle East rises up and just like changes the rules for Islam. And they kind of just go on this,
Right.
like, follow me. And then they end up killing so many Muslims that it is the members of the Muslim community that go, all right, we gotta cut
I mean, look,
this out.
ISIS kills more Muslims than any other religion,
Right?
you know? And so, and Al-Qaeda was the same way.
Yeah.
Is the same way. But look, there's also, I mean, it's, you think about, a lot of people think about Islam, they think about the Middle East, but there's also countries like Indonesia, places in Africa, like all over the world. I mean, it's one of the world's very biggest religions. And so, you know, a lot of the problems we're seeing within Islam are not in those other places around the world. A lot of it's concentrated right in the Middle East. And
Yeah.
so you have to be careful how you talk about it.
So do you think with the whole Brexit thing,
Yeah.
switching to that, did Obama say something like if England leaves, you guys are going to go to the back of the
Back of
queue
the
or
queue.
something?
You know what's funny
Do you
is-
think that like whoever wrote that is like, you didn't write that, did you?
No, I did not write that.
Okay,
I
cool.
did not
It's
write
like
That guy's fired.
I mean, my thought on that was I pay fairly close attention to everything Obama says still, even though I don't work there anymore. I follow the news very closely. I didn't know about the Q line until after this. So if I didn't know about it, who pays that much close attention, I guarantee you, I would like to find one British voter who was like, you know what? Was going to vote Remain, but then fucking Barack Obama got up there and started yelling about the Q. I'm out.
That's how I really feel about politics. like Donald Trump will go out and say something, or they'll say something, and that's like the quote of the day, and it's like I really don't think like one little quote is going to change
I just
somebody's
think about
mind.
it from the other point of view. Like, could you imagine after the November election asking someone why they voted for Trump, and they'd be like, well, you know, David Cameron said something nasty, and that did it for me.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna vote for him, and then
This foreign leader just made fun
Yeah.
of us, and that was it.
I don't know. I mean, I was going to vote we stay, but then that Barack Obama fellow, he said I'd go to the back of the line. No thanks. I'm excited about Brexit. I'm totally excited. I don't think their life is going to change at all. I really don't.
You don't think so?
I don't think anything's going to happen.
I
They gotta what?
I
They
think
gotta
it's gonna be
seriously. They got to what? Renegotiate a couple of deals? Oh no! Now I'm going to
They're
play.
gonna- yeah.
I've got to pay £5 more for a slab of brie. My life is horrible. Like, what's going to happen?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on these things, but I do think it will take. I mean, there's the immediate financial panic that we're seeing right now. You know, this is a
Yeah.
tough day in the markets.
You know what? And somebody's going to make a fortune.
Someone's gonna-
right?
yeah, that's true.
The prices are going to go
That's
down.
true.
You know
That's
who's
true.
pissed?
Buy now.
You know who's mad? Scottish people. Because wasn't it like a couple? It seems like it was a couple of months ago. Scotland's like, no, we'll stay. We're going to stay with Europe. And then
Yeah.
England's like,
Well,
hey, see you later.
I mean, talking about what would change, there could be, you know, a United Kingdom that's just England and Wales by the end of this whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's something.
Well, it's weird. You know, let's not forget, before we start feeling sorry for them,
Yeah.
they had a pretty good piece of the globe at one
Yeah,
point.
they did. They
right?
did.
They had a
good run.
They had a really good run.
They had a pretty good run.
They had that big globe, and their flags were everywhere, and they were all smiling. Yeah, I don't think anything bad's going to happen out of
I
Brexit.
hope not.
So did you... This is a horrible question. You weren't fired or anything.
I was not fired.
You just
no.
you just said
I got tired.
it's time for me to move on.
Yeah, look, I was there I worked for him for 8 years, and I was on the Kerry campaign before that. So since the day I graduated college, 10 years in a row, I was either on a campaign or in government with
Wow.
no ability to plan my life, plan a weekend, plan a vacation, do
Yeah.
anything, especially in the White House. And, you know, Obama always says, oh, our White House is family friendly. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to have a family to be friendly to if I stay here as just a single guy sitting around the White House all day writing speeches. So there was a point after the re-elect where I said, you know, I'm gonna move on.
There
and
you go.
And I had a deputy who was brilliant and could take over, and I didn't feel bad about leaving. And Cody's done a great job.
That's fantastic. So where are you now, man? What
So
kind of
I'm-
wonderful things?
I'm here in Los Angeles in West Hollywood,
And how many Jon Favreau jokes do you get?
just every day.
Really?
I mean, I get great.
Like,
I
hey,
get
you're
great
the Iron
restaurant
Man guy.
reservations too.
I bet you do.
Yeah, and you
I
see
bet
the looks
you
of
do.
you see the looks of the people when I walk in the restaurant. It's not the other Jon Favreau. They can't.
And then they
kick me
demand
out
to
then.
see an ID.
No, then I just get the seat. It's perfect. So no,
great.
I'm out here now, and I clearly can't escape politics because I write a column for The Ringer, which is Bill Simmons' new venture, and I have a podcast as well.
What's the name of the podcast?
Keeping It 1600.
There you go.
And so me and Dan Pfeiffer, who is senior advisor in the White House, we do what you guys do. We take on the news of the week every week. It's
See,
we'll have to have you on now.
I'd love to be on.
This would be great.
I think that this is good for business. If the business is being an informed American.
Yes,
right?
I do too.
Like podcasts, Twitter, Facebook, when they decide to tell the truth.
Right.
Right? That
Well,
was.
look,
were you a part? Did you watch that Facebook thing go down?
I saw it like from afar.
That was not cool, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we don't know what happened.
I don't know if you're
There's
tight with
some
those
guy
guys.
messing with the algorithm, I guess. I don't know.
I know. Like, not cool at all. Hey, did you work with that dude from House?
Cal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cal? Oh, okay. Cal? You
Well, like
mean-
that dude from House.
I couldn't remember his
I think that
name.
dude from Harold and Kumar.
Harold and Kumar.
Like, Kumar is the normal reference that people make.
That's pretty sweet. I was very
He's great.
He was great on House, and then I guess he had to go into the producer's office and was like, "Hey, I quit. I'm sorry, but I got to take a gig at the White House."
Well-
that's like the best. That's like the best 2 weeks notice you
Yeah.
can give.
Well, he's also-
like,
I mean,
who can be mad at you?
Look, you get these celebrity surrogates, and a lot of them, it's very grateful because they take time out of their busy schedule and they come help you out. But, they have varying degrees of knowledge about politics and policy. Cal is by far like the most knowledgeable, most passionate celebrity surrogate that was out there for us, and he was knocking on doors in Iowa at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Which some of these people won't. They're just like, I'll show up at a big rally and that's it. So Cal's a great guy.
I don't want to beat the speech thing, but I have to ask this.
Sure.
Was there anything, like any turn of phrase that Obama just couldn't do? That, like, he would be a tongue twister? Because I can remember, like, I'm a George Bush fan, right?
Yeah.
And, like, whenever he gave a speech, you'd get this knot in your stomach. And you'd be like, okay, you can do it, sound them out. And then he'd have to say, like, nuclear. And he'd be like, nuclear. And he'd be like, oh, who keeps putting that word in his speeches? He can't do that one. Call it the big bomb, whatever. But, like, was there anything that, like, you can't do this? This is like a triple axle
No,
for
there
Barack?
was just pronunciations of people's names are always tricky, and you can write out the pronunciation in the speech and like let him know ahead of time. And still, when you're in the moment, you just
Was that
you
the
can
whole
flub it.
Afghanistan thing?
No, that's his
Like, that
I don't
killed
know.
me. I'm like, dude, we get it.
Pakistan.
You're a world traveler. Pakistan.
It
It's
is a
like when you
little-
go with your white friends to a Mexican restaurant and they're like, I'll have the burrito. It's like, dude, you're not from there. You can say Afghanistan.
He likes to show that he's very worldly. Yes, that is.
Oh, yeah, I think he
That's
does.
believe me.
All right, well, dude, it was so fantastic having you by.
Thanks for
We're
having
gonna
me.
have to
This
do
was
it
fun.
again.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
anytime.
So there was no turn of phrase that he couldn't do. It's just like
I don't
regular.
think so. We can. He's got a couple months left. I can go test it out with the speechwriters.
It's.
We've always wanted to just throw something out in the prompter without him knowing, just to see if
That
they'll,
would be great.
That'd be a good joke, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And then it's
Screw up.
some horrible
Watch the
like.
stock market tumble. That'd be fun.
Just save it for a big speech, like the State of the Union,
Right? Yeah.
something like that.
Stakes are
Yeah,
high.
a State of the Union speech, and then like some tongue twister, and then it's like John Favreau says hi, like on the teleprompter.
Perfect.
Hey, thanks so much,
Thanks
man.
for having me, guys.
I will see you around.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Give a round of applause. That's fantastic stuff. I feel smarter now. That was the big fear. That Barack Obama, he writes the speeches, he reads them well, he's fantastic. There's got to be something.
It's like he's got one skeleton in his closet.
I don't know what it is. But I tell you what, the guy can give a speech. He can sing. We've said it before on this podcast.
Yep.
We'll have to drop in the sound later when
Oh,
he
yeah.
was busted into Al Green. Let's stay together. I'm like, is there anything this guy can't do?
We should have asked John. John, you're still here. Is there anything he can't do?
Yeah, there's plenty.
I'm refraining from doing a joke. Is there? All right, we have another guest, and I want to talk about Brexit with this young lady.
Okay.
And we got to talk about the Democratic sit-in.
Yes,
that was
we do.
hysterical. I had so much fun with that on Twitter. Let's get Alicia up here. Alicia Krause, everybody. I met Alicia. Come on down. Last year here, you're on Ben. You have a show with Ben Shapiro on. It's the Answer, the Morning Answer.
The Morning Answer with Brian. So there is a liberal on our show, Brian Whitman.
Brian who?
Brian Whitman.
Okay.
So he did he worked with Rick Dees for years for the LA listeners.
I heard he wrote what was the Disco Duck song? Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, and actually,
For real? I was just
Scott
joking.
Shannon, of course, who is in the Radio Hall of Fame for creating the morning zoo kind of style lineup on the FM music side. Scott Shannon actually wrote a couple of one-hit wonders in the '80s too. His name is on there as writer and producer.
I was totally kidding around.
No,
but that's I think Disco Duck made a lot of money.
Something that people don't know too is who's the guy that died and then his wife was crazy and she brought his body to the Indian reservation. Casey Kasem was the voice on Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, he was Shaggy.
Yeah, he was Shaggy on Scooby-Doo, and so many people in my generation didn't know that. So I'm kind of a geek when it comes to love of radio. So, and my old boss, Sean Hannity, just got nominated for the Radio Hall of Fame. So
that's right.
I'm
for
hoping
the people,
that he gets in.
For the people listening at home, I always thought this was fantastic. You just drove to New York. You got a job interning for Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're good at this. You can do this. And then you
Yeah.
hopped in your car and drove out west and got a job in radio. I think that's fantastic.
So I produced the Sean Hannity radio show for 7 years, and at the time when he hired me full time, I was the youngest producer in ABC radio history at 19. I dropped out of college to do it, so excuse my bad grammar. And then, so I worked for Sean for 7 years. It was really cool. Got to experience a couple of conventions, election cycles, the debates, and all that, that behind the scenes type stuff. Then my husband and I took a sabbatical in Hawaii. Don't hate me. Lived with my uncle out there on a Navy base for a little bit because he's a Navy SEAL. And then I got a bucket list job to run a congressional campaign in my home district in Oklahoma. So I ran that. Lost, got sad, got pregnant, then came out and did this.
I tell you what, most people.
So we moved across country when I was 6 months pregnant, rented an apartment, sight unseen. And
wow.
It was my first on-air gig because I'd been behind the scenes for so long, but it's such a small world. The guy that hired me as an intern for Sean Hannity's radio show back in, the fall of '04 is now the president of programming at Salem Radio, and he's the one that had me come out and audition for the radio gig I have now.
Holy moly. How's Sean Hannity as a person? Here's the deal.
He's awesome.
I watched
He's
his
my
show.
second dad.
I watched the show on Fox. He talks about the Krav Maga, the whatever fighting stuff he does a lot.
He didn't do that when I worked for him. He would do the elliptical a lot. That was his way of staying in shape, when I was there. But his wife and I text, and she'll text me about the updates with the kids and stuff.
What's the personal self-defense stuff he's into now?
I think it's Krav Maga.
Yeah. He talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
He's giving a little message to
hey,
the haters
guys.
out
well,
there.
He
Hey,
also
I'll take you out.
Obviously conceal and carry. Remember with that
newspaper. He talks
newspaper?
about that a lot.
Well,
too.
he didn't used to. He was actually one of the people that was outed by that newspaper in New York. Remember when they found the list of all of the conceal and carry holders in the state, and then they got ticked off, and they were like, we should know who these people are because they might hurt us. And then they released the list. And so that's how Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump, Sean Hannity, and a few other people's names, including normal people like you and I, they were outed as being conceal and carry holders because of this newspaper.
Let me ask you this. You might know. Is the wow, I just had a mini stroke. Oh, my Lord, it happened again. The NRA.
Yes.
The list of members. Is that public or is that private?
I'm actually not sure because I'm not an NRA member. I'm a Second Amendment sister and a daughter of the American Revolution, but I'm not an NRA
I heard
member.
somewhere, and this is horrible, we should look this up, but I like to do a podcast without any kind of fact-checking, that the list was private. And then I keep wondering, well, where are all these stats coming from? Where they're like, hey, even 85% of NRA people say that.
I don't know where they get that unless you, as a pollster, because having worked with pollsters in the past, on campaigns and doing consulting and stuff, you can obviously, as a pollster, have a list of questions to identify who people are before, they continue to, answer who they're going to vote for. So maybe that's how they determine that.
Yeah.
And
I don't believe
know
the polls.
how the list, as far as FEC regulations go, because I don't know how that would work if the list is able to be public or not, because I've worked at nonprofit groups in the past, and it's not like you really have membership.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for the NRA, it's as cheap as $20 to be a member. So I don't know if they're allowed to
Did you
release those
watch
lists or not.
Did you watch the Democratic sit-in?
We talked about it on the radio show.
Wasn't this the funniest thing ever?
My favorite, though, is how they ordered Chick-fil-A.
Oh, it was great. Well, and here's what
I love me some Chick-fil-A. I love it when I get to be
delicious.
on CNN.
I think
I'm like,
it's
yes, I will do Don Lemon's show because then after I can go get myself a spicy chicken sandwich. it's like right next to it.
It's a complete and total disaster for the Republicans, I believe, because they're just going to look like supervillains.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's
Because
so
when
funny.
they make the ads, it's going to be like, we're the Democrats. We tried to do something, and these Republicans stopped us. Like, why would
They
you
do.
want
The
to?
Democrats are great. Like, I respect that about them. They're so much better at the narrative and the feelings of a topic in a situation
Yeah.
than Republicans are.
Like, why would you even want to bring up that kind of thing for a vote like that soon after a tragedy? Like, is there a chance that we're all upset? Like, we're all upset about this, so maybe we should take a step
Well,
back.
on the Senate side, it was 2 Democrats, including California's own Feinstein, and then 2 Republicans that had amendments on legislation.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the Republicans that were like, hey, we need to bring this up. I think the Republicans came up with their amendments to counter the Democrats wanting to bring it up.
Right.
And so what's laughable to me, and I guess you could debate, and I'm still kind of undecided on how I felt about government shutdown and everybody, but it was so funny to see the media be like, oh, obstruction. They're only doing it because Barack Obama's in the White House, and like racism and all this stuff, when like Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and those guys were like shutting down things and the lights were turned off. Nancy Pelosi turned off the lights and the air conditioning and everything else and like literally locked down like the House floor and the Senate, like the House side. And like Paul Ryan's like, okay, we're going to adjourn while they're shouting. And then Paul Ryan's like, okay, I'm going back to Wisconsin. And then he like goes and like nothing happens. And the media's like, oh, what are they doing? What is happening? I mean, they left for potty breaks.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Wendy Davis, I don't like her and her political opinions, but at least the woman like put on sneakers and a catheter and like stayed in one spot, right? These guys were going out because they have red light syndrome and they're like going out there and being like, oh, they had media breaks, bathroom breaks. They got Dunkin' Donuts, Burger King, and Chick-fil-A. Hello, sign me up.
The whole frightening thing to me about this is like people who want to like talk about legislation when you're so emotional. It's like it's a recipe for disaster.
Well, and I love Louis Gohmert, but I mean, he got a little like crazy because like he not crazy, but like he went down there and was yelling at them and like was like, hey guys, these aren't because of like gun laws. These are actual victims of like terror attacks, and there's a difference there. And it's mind-boggling to me how Orlando was a terror attack and how we're calling it like the largest like gun violence
mass shooting
in the United States.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and then somehow that becomes the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a terror attack or is it a hate crime? Is it a terror attack? How about this? How about
Terror is hateful?
how about a terrorist who like, here's some people I hate.
Yeah.
Like, so
Are we allowed
whatever.
to like curse on this? Like,
Yeah.
like they're hateful assholes, and
prefer-
so they do hateful things. So it's like, but they are terrorists. Like, if you look up the definition of terror, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So.
That's wonderful. I thought that was it was very funny. I tweeted a lot. I had a funny
it was
little
so much fun.
Like, oh, Democrats sleep in, blah blah blah. But like, it really terrifies me. It really does when people start trying to pass legislation for these really emotional places.
Well, and what's so mind-boggling to me is John Lewis deserves like the utmost respect for the stuff that he did during the civil rights movement. Like, absolutely great, like American hero. I don't understand how you think that doing a sit-in, like civil rights era sit-in, to take away people's civil liberty is equal to like marching with Martin Luther King. Like, it doesn't add up and it's weird. I mean, but guys, like the ACLU and I are on the same side on this. Like, that's like the first time in my life, and maybe even the last time in my life, I'll be able to say that.
It's always great when people can get along, and that's what I like about this whole event, this whole Politicon thing.
So, weirdest moment ever.
I love this.
Weirdest behind the
seriously,
scenes moment. Okay.
This is a pet peeve of mine. My wife does this all the time. She'll be like, "Oh my God, you won't believe
You're
what
gonna think
just,"
this is weird.
and I'll be
I'm
like,
not exaggerating.
"Oh, there was a wasp in the car," and it doesn't really like live up.
Weirdest moment ever. I'm in the holding room upstairs, like after my panel earlier, and Ann Coulter walks in with her entourage, gives me a massive hug, like, because she knows me from my days at Hannity. And then 5 seconds later, Sally Cohn walks in and gives me a massive hug, also from my days at Hannity. And so it's like, and I disagree with them both, like, so much on so many issues right now, but there's a level of, like, you're human and you're friends and you've been through things together, and like, I booked Sally for 7 years on Sean's show, and Sean actually was one of the first shows she was ever on, and then she started doing Fox News, and then she got her contributorship, and now she's at CNN as a contributor, and then obviously Anne has been in the movement. Like, I remember reading her books as a kid and all that stuff, but it's just so funny. It's like, only at Politicon, like, do I get a bear hug from both of these people that are on opposite sides of the political
You know
spectrum.
what I like about Hannity? When he has somebody from the left on, it's just not some person who's there to take a dive. Right? It's just not some idiot like, it's my first day as a Democrat.
So Tamara Holder is a friend of mine, and the woman's a freaking defense attorney. I mean, she's smart. Like,
Well, you want to cuss really bad, don't you?
No, I don't do that often. But politics, well, it's fun because, like, terrestrial radio, I can't even say, like, I can't say a-hole, which is weird. Somebody just tell me out of here.
In the back of the room, the guy's, hey, get out of here.
You can use the other name for a donkey, but you can't say.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. So
actually, funny story. Ben Shapiro, when I was auditioning, used the word asinine, and the engineer dumped it.
He dumped asinine?
Yeah, because I don't think he knew what it meant.
He did. Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
That's a scary world we live in.
Harvard law educated Ben Shapiro was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, dude, come on." Anyway.
It's all good. Andrew, you keep chomping at the bit like you got
sorry.
something you got to bring up.
Well, no, I just wanted to take a minute and ask the big question on the other side, that we have had a lot of gun violence in this country, and we want to do something about it, but we have no idea what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about the fact that we're not even allowed to study any sort of gun violence in this country at the government level? Do you think that should change?
What, the studies?
Yeah, right now there's a law on the books that says the government, the National Institute of Health, isn't even allowed to study gun violence.
Well, I think that it would be, sure, the National Institute of Health should study gun violence, but more, I mean, it's blatantly, if you look at state and specifically city statistics, like here in LA, where they're trying to cover up the homicide records, you would see that the majority of gun violence is gang-related, and you're 6 times more likely to be killed by a kitchen knife than you are a weapon, like a gun.
I heard this as I throw a pen at you. I
How
heard this.
dare you?
Right.
Well, you know, Donald Trump said that's what Michelle Fields had, so now you tried to kill me, and I need Corey Lewandowski to come save
I can
me.
sue. I heard that like more people are stabbed to death than are shot with a rifle, and then by far more than being stabbed to death, they're beat to death with fists.
Well, and the whole thing with the AR-15 as well is the AR-15 hasn't been used in most of the horrific mass shootings of the last 20 years. It's actually like a handgun. So then why not take away my Glock 19? Because I'm more likely to, go shoot up somebody with that. But the state of California, tells me I also can't do that outside of my home. If someone comes on my property and has my child around the neck, I can't shoot them, but I have to wait for them to come into my house and do that.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Last time I checked, murder was against the law. That was the title of
also
of
the
last
Ten
week's
Commandment too. So like, if you're not going to listen to God and you're not going to listen to federal government,
yeah. Oh my goodness. So did you want to get into the
I'm Bible Belt like that.
Your Bible Belt like that. Yeah. Oklahoma.
So you are a woman.
Hear her roar.
Yes.
I'm identifying as a woman today, yes.
Okay, that's good to know.
I identify whoever has the smallest line to the bathroom. When I go to a Dodger game and there's a bunch of dudes waiting in line, I am Linda. All right, and I'm going into the ladies' room.
So we'll ask you and Linda.
Okay.
I'm adorable when I'm Linda.
All right. So Abigail Fisher, what was going through her head, and could there be a more unfortunate symbol of white privilege?
Is this the girl who lost the Supreme Court thing because of affirmative action?
Yes, she.
See,
won.
I'm on the I'll tell you where I am right now. Affirmative action is inherently racist, and I think its days are in the rearview mirror.
I love me some Condoleezza Rice, but she and I disagree on this. I think that, and I have friends that are liberal minority friends that also say the same thing. I think you've seen here in California in the UC system, for example, that if you have an Asian minority and a black minority, they actually will deduct points from the entrance exams and the applications of Asians just based on their name over people with African sounding names. freaking like
That's crazy.
That sounds racist to me.
That's incredibly
I'm
racist.
sorry. Like I mean, people think I'm a Jewish dude because my name's Elisha and it's spelled like Elisha from the Bible. Like they think I'm a Jewish man, and that's okay, fine. And apparently Krause is also like a very Jewish surname. But if someone were to look at my name and be like, oh well, they're Jewish, so maybe they had a leg up in the world, so we're going to deduct her points from her application.
That would be horrible.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And as a woman, I call myself like a prosperity feminist. I want to be judged based on my merits and my talent and my ability, not just because I have a hoo-ha. And,
how dare you?
And I love the dynamic of our show because it is two guys versus a girl, but my bosses did that because they looked at the market and they're like 50% of talk radio listeners are women, so why wouldn't we have a woman? So to make that decision from like a market perspective or a talent perspective or a capability perspective, great, but not just because I have that chromosome.
So what do you say then to people who make the argument that, well, minorities tend to be in school districts that don't perform as well, so they need a leg up in
I'm
some
all
way?
for school choice. It's interesting that the left uses that argument, but yet they're anti voucher system, they're anti homeschooling, and they're anti charter schools and private schools. So give them the school choice and give them that leg up and give them every single opportunity possible. I think another area that you have growing is there's a growing number in the next 10 years. I read a recent study that single mothers are going to be more in the white community than they are in the minority communities, which previously had been the case. So I think you're going to see where you're going to have more and more white kids that were raised in single mother homes, and a woman trying to raise up kids and take care of them and all that stuff. She's going to need that help. She'd love that voucher program. I have 3 people near and dear to me. I talked about this in the pro-life panel earlier: a sister, a sister-in-law, and a first cousin who all had kids outside of wedlock. And each of those incredible women that are raising their children on their own would want the opportunity to send their kids to the absolute best school. So why don't we do that? And why don't we start there? And that levels the playing field, so to speak.
Boom. See, now, when he and I do the podcast, and he'll be like, so, Mike, what do you think about da-da-da? I'm like, oh, let me think about that. And I'm all like, but you're just like, doo-ka-doo-ka-doo, like a Gatling gun. Just a Gatling gun. He's sweating right now.
That's very insensitive
His
to him.
stomach is roiling.
It's very insensitive for you to compare me to a Gatling
I'm just
gun.
trying to keep it fun. If she wants to get into a debate with me later about charter schools, you and I can have that conversation.
That's great. Well, but this went all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
girl,
yeah.
because she's like,
And I think the Supreme Court made the wrong decision.
But I think a bunch of black kids and a bunch of other kids who got the same test scores as she did, they didn't get in either. So I'm like, how did it even get to the Supreme Court?
I actually have a friend who, I don't know if y'all know or not, he's kind of infamous for those ambush interviews, Jason Matera.
I know Jason.
And so Jason I've known for ever.
He's right behind you.
Yeah. And knowing him, he might do that. So Jason, when he went to college, I believe in Brooklyn, he's a Puerto Rican kid. And he actually addressed and tried to address with the school how he thought affirmative action was wrong because he saw qualified candidates. And then it's well, then you have to choose, which minority is more special? And you have people, I was talking with a friend about this earlier, you have people that are African Americans, they've lost their specialty clout because now we're going to focus on illegal immigrants, but solely from Mexico. And then, in a couple of years, maybe we'll pay attention to gay people. And then after that, maybe these people can be at the top of the totem pole and are care factor.
How do you not feel like a total
what happened to just equal?
when
just
you
treat
work for the
everyone
federal
equal.
government and you're trying to figure out, this guy will give them more points because they're oppressed and we'll give this, that. How do you not just go home and not need the hottest shower ever? You got to feel just horribly racist. You know what? The Chinese kids, we'll get them down the road.
Did you read that report from this professor, and I can't remember where he taught, but reason number 5,999.
He taught it racist.
So he was actually saying,
you racist.
He was actually saying that it's unfair for children with 2 parents, like my husband and I. It's unfair for us to read to our 2.5-year-old, especially if it's every night, because studies have shown that when parents read to their children, how it improves their memory, their vocabulary, all
so
of this
it's
stuff.
unfair. You're giving your
I'm
child
giving her an
unfair leg
advantage
up
by being married to my husband of almost 7 years and then having her and then reading to her.
That's very funny.
It's not fair to other children.
That's very funny. And this guy was really saying this for
No,
real?
he was legit saying it. He was a professor somewhere.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Alicia, I've got to have you back on the TV show.
Yeah, it'd be tons of fun.
Yeah.
I think my episode with you last time, it aired during my birthday week.
I know. That's how I worked it.
Nice.
I'm like, how can I say happy birthday to Alicia the
It
best
was
way?
the big 3-0, so, you know. It was
The big 3-0?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like a
You're
millennial
doing quite
still.
well.
Oh, thank you. I'm
Like,
a
I'm trying to
millennial.
think about where I was when I was 30. I'm pretty sure I was in a comedy club drunk.
I'm still like at the, like,
Alone.
I'm still a millennial, so like advertisers and stuff kind of care about me, but I'm like on the older spectrum of millennials, so I'm not as cool as like the kids that are like 21 and all into Snapchat and stuff.
What's in your, what do you listen to? What's the last song you downloaded? What's the last song you're like, I gotta have
like
this?
Adele's entire album. Actually, you mentioned Brexit, which we haven't gotten to talk about because, sorry, we're like probably running out of time because I'm a massive talker. But I tweeted the other day, like Adele, like Britain's song to the EU right now is Adele's Send My Love. You know that song, like where she's like, to your new lover, hope you treat her better. I'm like, that's totally Britain's song to the EU.
Why do you
right
think?
now.
I'll ask you this, and then I got one more guest I got to get to. But I want to know, why do you think they voted to exit? Why do you think they voted against it?
I think a
Or
big
voted to
thing is
leave?
they didn't fall for this is going to inhibit trade. Britain actually wants to do trade with countries like Australia and India and Japan, and they're being inhibited by doing that by the EU. So I think that's a big issue. But I think maybe equally is you saw these horrific terror attacks in Brussels and Paris. Mass shootings in Brussels and Paris that were committed by Syrian refugees. And once they go to Brussels or Germany or France or any of these places, they can hop on the train or hop on a plane and go over to England. And they're thinking, we kind of want our borders back. We want a little more national security here.
Yeah.
And the Brits that I've talked to kind of said that it was those two things, that they're sick and tired of having the EU with unelected officials telling them, a sovereign nation, what to do.
It's got to be
they
tough.
gave it, 40 years? They've given it a long haul.
Yeah, they gave it a try. And that's what I mean. Like Obama did that with Cuba. He's like, hey, we had this policy towards Cuba for a long time. Wasn't working out. We weren't seeing results. We're going to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, war on poverty. We were trying this for a long time. Let's try something new.
I totally agree with you. I don't think it's, in the long term, it's not going to have the negative, the world is on fire effect that people think it will.
Yeah, that was my tweet yesterday.
Nice.
As soon as my plane landed, I was like, I've been in the air for 6 hours, cut off from the world. I imagine that England.
Your plane didn't have Wi-Fi? What kind of an
I
airline
didn't
were
want
you
to
flying?
spend the
You don't want
money
to spend the
on
$9.95 on the 3 hour.
I had my own in-flight entertainment. There was a young couple from New Zealand.
Oh, nice.
Having a 5.5 hour long fight next to me.
Wait, you should have tweeted it like that one lady, and then she went viral. Remember that lady that tweeted the breakup? And she went super viral.
Yeah.
And then apparently at the end of the flight, they were like drunk making out with each other.
If this woman would have caught me tweeting about her, she would have had at it.
No.
She would have turned something into a boomerang.
That's
and
a little
had
more
at me.
Aussie.
It's as close as I can get.
So
I'm in
New
the same
Zealand,
area
I
of the
have lots
globe.
of friends that are Australian. Actually, the guy that married us is from Perth. And like all of the women at my wedding would have married him if he wasn't already married, just because of the accent. But New Zealanders are called Kiwis, right?
Yes.
Okay, they're Kiwis. Okay.
That's true. And they're Lord of the Ringers down there. That's all they do. That's their number one.
Well, homeschool geek, LOTR all the way.
Boy, oh boy.
That and C.S. Lewis, it's my jam.
That's right. I knew I liked you very much.
Can you say something in Elvish before you go?
Oh, no, I'm not that hardcore.
Okay.
If she was, that would be it.
Yeah.
That would have been it. If it would have been like, I've been like, I would have melted. I would have had a heart attack and died.
Then I would be at Comic-Con and not
How old
Politicon.
were you when you read Lord of the Rings for the first time? Oh. I say for the first time because I imagine you read it more than once.
I think like 10 or 11.
Me too.
Yeah, I was
Me
always a
too.
very good reader.
And it is that very rare thing. It is that very rare thing. When I saw that movie, it was exactly as I had always imagined.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, they did such a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You Star Wars?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, my
Force
parents,
Awakens?
My parents, so my late brother-in-law, who's amazing, God rest his soul, had a Rebel Alliance tattoo on his arm.
That's hardcore.
And my parents, in 1980, walked back up, after they pronounced husband and wife, walked back up the aisle to the Throne Room song from, like, Princess Leia's coronation. So my entire family, yeah.
That's great.
I've watched The Force Awakens probably 3 times.
Yeah.
And, my husband was, like, not raised on that because he's from Detroit. Like, I don't know, his family wasn't like,
Hey,
No, they
I'm
have
from
movie
Detroit.
theaters.
I've
Really?
seen all the Star
But-
Wars
so-
movies.
They don't
like,
have Star Wars in
his-
Detroit. That's
his-
how bad these Democrats are. These liberal
Horrible
Democrats.
No more jobs.
They have gun violence and no
I think
Star Wars.
his family was like more into like Magnum PI and like that kind of like.
Yeah?
I don't think they were like Star Wars people. So I really want to sit down and watch in order. Obviously, skipping the Phantom Menace and that horror show, like watch them with him, and then like watch. But I've seen The Force Awakens 3 times, and I actually went opening night by myself. I had a speech in Palm Beach, Florida, and I texted my husband. I was like, "Can I go to the movie like without you because you haven't caught up yet?" And he's like, "Just do it." And I was like in line in my t-shirt, like ponytail, like the night before my speech, midnight showing.
That's great.
Yeah.
So he's in for a treat. You're gonna watch all the movies back to back to back to back to back.
Totally, we need to.
Here's a fun little thing that I thought was fantastic. In the very first, in A New Hope, that's the episode 4, well, Luke Skywalker.
Well, I guess, yeah, maybe we should wait.
The first. That's how I would watch them.
So I should wait for him.
Yeah, I would do them in the order that they were released. I would go Luke Skywalker, A New Hope, Empire, and then blah, blah, blah. But if you look at the Millennium Falcon in A New Hope, there are dice. There are dice that he's got like hanging like from the rearview mirror, Han Solo.
Really?
Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's so cool. It's like a hot rod thing.
Yeah.
And they're not in Empire Strikes Back, and they're not in Return. And when they were going...
So it was like a mistake?
I just think they forgot to put them in the other movies because they tore the Millennium Falcon apart and they had to rebuild it for the other movies. I think they forgot the dice. So they went to such great lengths to recreate the Millennium Falcon from like 1977 or whatever. In The Force Awakens, the dice came back.
And
I'm like,
I
that
love
is
snippets.
attention to detail.
Like, I love snippets like that.
Me
like,
too.
That's super cool.
Oh, you and I would get along famously. That's all I am. Snippets, bar facts, and half-cooked theories.
You should go on Jeopardy.
I should.
I feel like people with your personality and you're like not a jack of all trades, but like you have a little bit of knowledge about everything, you could totally like win Jeopardy.
I could, no. I could maybe not make a fool of myself, but I would totally be guessing. And here's the other thing with Jeopardy. It has to be in the form of a question. So couldn't you just like imply it? Could you go, is it the Wicked Witch of the West? I mean, couldn't you do that and still be technically right?
I wonder why. Because remember that guy that had the right answer, but it wasn't in the form of the question, and he was about to like break all these records, and you just feel so, you're like, really, Alec? Really?
See?
That's the name of the game. Like, can you really get mad? It's like, that's the
True.
only shit
I'm
Jeopardy
definitely
has.
one of those people for the rules.
But
hence my
that's
immigration
heartbreak.
stance.
It's like the person who has all the letters on Wheel of Fortune, and then they say it wrong, and you're like, oh, Lord.
Okay, here's the thing on Wheel of Fortune. You start by buying the vowels, people. If you buy the vowels, then like everything else just comes together.
But
See,
you
and this
win
is-
less money.
This is why this is the best podcast that America... Because we're gonna fix affirmative action. We're gonna give you school choice, and we're gonna tell you how to win on Jeopardy.
Hey.
Who else
Actually,
is doing that shit?
So bringing Shapiro into the conversation again, his dad was on Jeopardy once and like got second place, and I think he opted for the free refrigerator over the vacation because they were like poor and needed the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
But his theory, and they've done this before, is like you actually want to kind of sound dumb when you go through the initial questioning with the producers, and then you get on with the dumber people, and then you win. Where if you are, if you know,
is it Mary Queen of Scots?
yeah, like if you know like all the answers, then you're put up against other people that are like
Then you do
smarter
the big
than you.
reveal when you're on TV. Ha ha, you fools.
Yeah, and then
you don't know what you're in for.
They determine like who you are on the stage with based on like how smart they think you are.
Fun to know fact.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson's dad, big time Catholic, like Latin Mass Catholic, and thought it was like the end of days. He won Jeopardy
Really?
and won a boatload of money. And he took that money that he won on Jeopardy, and he took his whole family down to Australia because they thought it was just over. Like the U.S. had gone so far.
Well, he was that hardcore?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he moved the whole family down to Australia. That's why Mel Gibson started down there, and then, so there you go.
Mad Max.
There you go.
Oh my
Mad
gosh, my
Max.
husband's
Well,
obsessed with that movie.
First one was The Road Warrior.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Mad Max.
Yeah.
No, was the first one.
No, wasn't it The Road Warrior first?
Road Warrior was the first one that was big time release, but there was an original movie called Mad Max, had Mel Gibson in it, but they didn't have his accent. They went back and they dubbed it, so every time he talks, it sounds like this. It's really horrible.
Really?
Yeah, and they show how his wife and kid got killed,
Yeah.
and the bad guy, the evil, I don't even know why I'm telling this, is like the bad guy, the gang member, is Toe Cutter. That's the name of the bad guy
That's
who's out
creepy.
to kill him.
Well,
So,
you cut someone's toes, it is really horrible because then they can't walk.
Yes, that is correct.
That's-
Unless they cut the pinky toe. And for that story, you'll have to watch my 1 hour stand-up special on Comedy
I
Central.
love how we're just like
We
all
have
over
devolved.
the place.
I got Alicia, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thanks for having
Please
me.
tell me you'll be on the show again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not this show, the TV show.
Is this one of those things where you're saying you want me on, but then your producers never follow up?
Absolutely not.
Or, okay.
Absolutely not. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And I love hanging out with you. Thank you so much.
Fun to be here.
Yay! A round of applause. It's fantastic. This is live. This is fantastic. Ari, come on up. Ari, we got some time with you. We're going to bring things home with a young man by the name of Ari David. And we're going to do some Michaeltopias. We got some Michaeltopias. I had a great one. Alicia said something so funny, and I thought, I got to use that as a Michaeltopia. Ari, have a seat. Welcome to the Loftus party, my friend.
Michael, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great. It's fantastic. You've been all over Politicon today. What was the panel you already did?
I was on the Cause Effect show with Carl Kozlowski. I was the token conservative on that panel. And then I was the token conservative on the Judd Dunning Conservatively Unplugged panel, which is called Conservatively Unplugged, but for some reason they put me on with like 6 liberals. And now I'm here. So, hello world.
We're
This is refreshing. I'm not like under assault here.
all right. So you've been watching the podcast. We're going over the news. Corin Lewandowski, Trump's guy. Did I say the name right?
The risk grabber.
Corey Lewandowski.
Corey Lewandowski. He's already got a gig at CNN.
Yeah, it probably fits for a Democrat. He's running a Democrat campaign, working for a Democrat. Lifelong Democrat.
Here we go.
Trump.
Here we go.
It fits. I'm disappointed. I thought he'd wind up working at MSNBC on Morning Joe, but
that's where Ted Cruz's guy wound up.
Which one?
It wasn't the guy from Ted Cruz's campaign. When Ted Cruz fired him, he went to MSN.
I don't know. I don't watch these things.
I just say hateful things. I don't really
Not
watch.
hateful, thoughtful.
So Corin Lewandowski's a Democrat?
I don't know what he is. He beat a woman. He lied about it. He then trashed her. Sounds like OJ to me.
He grabbed her elbow.
He denied touching her. Then he goes online and trashes her on Twitter and all over the media. Then a videotape emerges of him actually touching her. You can argue about the severity of the touch or what he meant by it.
Yeah.
But he did touch her.
He did. He touched her.
Yeah.
That's jail time where I come from.
Yeah.
That's jail.
Talk to me about Islam or something I like.
I'm not going to get you started there. We'll be blown up by the time people finish downloading it.
Second
we will go
Amendment?
off. Second Amendment. What did you think of the? Here's the deal. Fun to know fact. When our country was first getting fired up, right? The Boston Massacre. Mm-hmm. And those young British soldiers, they opened fire. A bunch of people died, and there was a lynch mob. Like, you got to kill those English soldiers. You got to kill them. You got to get them. And John Adams, one of the founding fathers, said, "Hold on. If we're going to be a nation of laws, we have to be a nation of laws. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure these guys get a fair trial. Let's not do this while everybody is hot and just excited." And he took a lot of heat from the other guys because they wanted it like martyrs, blah, 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 blah. So John Adams defended those British soldiers in a court of law, and they got off. They were found not guilty. They were in fear for their lives. People were throwing like rocks and stuff at them, and they shot, and they went back to England because we are a nation of laws. And it really, the Democratic sit-in, and it's like I was saying with one of the previous guests, I can't remember who, but it's like when they start going and like, we got to do something, like literally they haven't, like, we need a couple days to catch our breath before you start talking about legislating more gun control. And it's always, and here's the other thing with me and gun control about this, I only hear about ways to keep guns away from law-abiding citizens. Like, until somebody can propose, here's a way, I have figured out a way, this is what I want to hear some senators say, I have figured out a way to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. Let's do that.
Well, so why are you in opposition to having an additional 3-day waiting period for anyone on the terror watch list?
Because that terror watch list, that scares me. It really does. I have friends that are on the no-fly list, and it was a total mistake. And all you have to do is accuse somebody of being a crime, and all of a sudden they don't have their Second Amendment rights. All of a sudden you wake up, you're like, you know what, I think I will. I'll go buy a new handgun. Sorry, you can't. We think you're a terrorist. What? No, you have to accuse somebody. It's like getting a warrant. If you want to listen to somebody's private phone call, you have to get a warrant. You have to go to a judge.
What do you say to those people who make the argument? And Ari, let me open this to you as well. The people who say, well, isn't Trump's wall really the same thing? It's like, it's not going to really keep it away from the people who really want to come into this country. It's like, we're just taking a second. We're going to take a step back. We're going to stop for a moment.
Here's what I think about Trump's wall. Mm-hmm. And you let me know what you think, too, Ari. I think Trump's wall is entirely a metaphor. I think it's not like if people think that Trump's going to build some giant Great Wall of China and Mexico's going to pay for it. I got a bridge in Brooklyn I want to talk to you about. I think he's just talking about having a border that functions to keep people away. And I think that's what he's going to say, too, when he realizes there's no way Mexico's going to pay for this giant wall. What are your thoughts? All right, David, you're on the hot seat.
I think the biggest issue about basically anything Trump says is I'm all for it. The issue is, does he really believe it? Is there any intent to follow through with it? And I think it's clear based on his past record that he clearly has no intention on following through with most of these things. They're all pretty words for political expediency. If you notice the way politics always works in presidential elections, the Democrats generally do a head fake and convince the Republicans to run left of their values. Then Democrats seize the high ground run as conservatives. 2008, Obama runs as someone cutting waste, fraud, and abuse in government and the guy who's going to shepherd through the economy to prosperity. In 2012, Obama runs as the national security hawk by saying Al-Qaeda is dead, GM is alive.
Yeah.
And he convinces Romney to not go after him strong with an assist from Candy Crowley in that second debate to really go after him on Benghazi. And in 2008, he convinced John McCain to essentially run as a socialist on the economy. What happens? Democrats usually win these things because they actually speak conservatism. Trump is speaking conservatism the way every Democrat before him speaks, but if elected, he probably has no intention to follow through with these things.
Okay, so
yes, the wall is a big head fake. It means
I honestly think that they will start enforcing the laws that are already on the books. I've said it before on the flip side on the TV show. Like everybody's like, the immigration system's broken. First of all, everybody is for immigration. I love immigration. You will never meet people who love this country more than who just passed their citizenship test. It's fantastic. We have a very good immigration system. I'm against illegal immigration, and that's what I think his wall is. It's like we will enforce the immigration laws that are on the books.
Sure, and can I address Andrew's idea of 3 extra waiting days?
Yeah,
well,
please.
Who does that affect? That affects a woman who's been threatened. Let's just say her name is Nicole, and O.J. says, I'm going to kill you tonight. Don't you want Nicole being able to go to Turner's Outdoorsman and buy a gun and have it on her tonight?
Ooh, yeah.
Isn't that the real victims of waiting periods? And there's already a 10-day waiting period in California. Women have already been raped and assaulted who felt in danger of their lives and were prevented from getting a gun immediately because of this waiting period. Criminals don't file for waiting periods in most cases. A criminal can acquire a gun right now, right off the street. The laws never apply to the criminals. It only applies to the victims. And if you look across America, where's the highest crime? Where the highest gun control is and where Democrats who are corrupt run the cities. Look at where the lowest crime is. Plano, Texas. It has the highest per capita gun ownership in America and has a murder rate that is infinitesimally small. It is statistically zero. I think we've done the experiment, and that proves it.
In Plano, Texas.
Plano, Texas.
They're a city so poor they couldn't afford a fancy name. They had to go with Plano, Texas. Thanks for listening to the show. I had to slip into some going. Okay, it is time for Ari. I love you, man. You're loaded too. You and Alicia are just like Gatling guns.
No. I'm a nuclear weapon fired from a submarine.
And
I don't shoot individuals. I vaporize cities. I
am a nuclear weapon fired from a submarine.
Yeah, I destroy
great.
entire civilizations.
Okay, all right. If you've got one of these, jump in. Here's how we always like to close out the show. We close it out with a segment called Michaeltopia. The world is crazy. The world doesn't make sense. But in my brain, there's a place called Michaeltopia, and if we just change a few rules, it'll all make sense. And then you give your rule for Michaeltopia. For instance, in Michaeltopia, people get along in real life like they get along at Politicon.
yes.
You can talk to someone who completely disagrees with you and you who completely disagree with, and it's completely civil, and you have a good time and you talk about issues.
Yes.
Right? It's like a little magic bubble of like civil discourse. Right? Now, what I'm wondering is like how much distance do you have before we revert to just like hating one another? Right? If you ever go to a Dodger game, like you go to a Dodger game and it's like the most different, wonderful people all over, but you look around, it's like that ocean of blue and like, yeah, we're all Dodger fans. And like, no harm shall come to me. We're all Dodger fans. And then you get into the parking lot and like you're in your car and then you're like, that guy's probably going to beat me up. That guy's, he might knife me. Like that Dodger fan effect kind of wears off the farther you get from the stadium. Oh, that didn't paint the picture I wanted to paint. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Loftus Party. Thanks for being here, everybody. Oh my gosh, special thanks to Ari for coming out, to Alicia, and to Jon Favreau. I thought he was much bigger, and he's already directed Iron Man and been an Obama speechwriter.
And he
Thanks
was in
so much.
Swingers.
And he was in Swingers. He was great.
And Rudy. He was great in Rudy.
We'll see you next time.